So, welcome. This is my very first YouTube video for my very first YouTube page ever. And after a lot of insistence from people around me, friends and family, I finally was like, okay, I'll go ahead and try my hand at making a YouTube channel and doing some YouTube videos. So, yay! I am Tiffany Renee, and welcome. This channel is really going to be about everything, literally. We're going to talk about everything. It doesn't matter whether people in the comments want to talk about certain topics or whatever I happen to wake up and think about, like, I think I want to talk about that. So just be prepared. The anchor of this channel is going to be like law of attraction and energy, based. And whatever comes from that, we'll just go with it because really law of attraction is everywhere, energy is everywhere, so it's all interconnected anyway. So just be prepared, which whatever that I decide to post that day. The goal is to post maybe 3 videos a week. We'll see how that goes because let me get one up first. How about that? And then we'll go from there. So, if this is your first time tuning in, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much. Like, share, subscribe, do all those wonderful things. And let's get started. First, I wanted to make a bit of an introduction to me so you guys know a little bit about me and kind of how I discovered the law of attraction. Or I guess law of attraction discovered me is probably more accurate. So my name is Tiffany Renee, and I'm actually from Ohio, but I live in Indiana. And I grew up in the Middle East. I grew up in Saudi Arabia for 8 years, from 8 to 16. I left in 1991, and I came back in 1999. So for those of you who remember the 90s like that, the box office movie in 1999 was The Matrix. The Matrix had just come out, the first one. So yeah. And I just had to learn how to transition from living in Saudi Arabia for all those years to moving back to the States and trying to transition. And it was a little rough, especially high school. That was a little rough, you know. I was very awkward. I had really no sense of style because I wore uniforms my whole life. Didn't know anything about boys because, in Saudi Arabia, everything is separate, men and women. Two different areas all the time. Even to go to the mosque to pray, men and women don't mix. So the fact that I was going to high school with boys, it was a whole mess, right? So my self esteem and self confidence and all that was just non existent, really. And I just felt like I was trying too hard. You have 2020 hindsight. It's like if I knew then what I know now, life would have been a lot different, but you live and you learn, right? And I eventually moved to Indiana to go to college in 2003 when I graduated high school. So I've really been in Indiana ever since. And, I went to Franklin College in Franklin, Indiana. Shout out Franklin. Hey, Grizzlies. I was actually the Grizzly mascot for like 2 seasons. Yeah, so that was fun. But I just stayed in Indiana. And I had some ups and downs, of course, like most people, like most college graduates. You just kind of graduate college and you're like, okay, what do I do with my life? And you're like, okay, I have this degree, but what do I do with my life? And it took a long time for me to figure out a path. I mean, let's be honest, I'm still trying to figure out my path. Okay, I'm 37 years old now. Okay, and that I was 24 then. I'm still trying to figure out what my life purpose is really. So if you're like me and you're in your late 30s heading into your 40s and you're like, I still don't know what the heck I'm doing with my life, I'm right there with you. Okay, so At one point, I did move to Virginia. I moved for love, which was a whole mess. Okay. Now, disclaimer here, I'm not saying that you can't move away for love. I'm just saying that my experience, I shouldn't have done it. And I know I shouldn't have done it because I knew that our relationship was not solid enough for that. We had been together less than a year and we had broken up like 3 or 4 times already. So I already knew those were red flags. But I didn't listen to my inner self. Who does? I mean, whatever, right? I'm in my like, think I was maybe 28 or something, like maybe 27, something like 26, 27. And I was like, okay, I know what I'm doing. It's going to work out. And it totally did not. I moved there. I got a financed car, gave up my car that was paid for, resigned from my job that I really liked, all that, moved away. After 5 days of being there, um, I was dumped. Like, not even joking. It was like a freaking Lifetime movie. Like, it was crazy, right? And I just really couldn't believe it. It's like, really, I give up my entire life for you. Moved across the country, literally from Indiana to Virginia. 800 miles I drove, okay? Got a financed car that I could not afford. Did everything, okay? Gave up my entire life, left my friends. The relationship was, at the time, this was like 10 or 12 years ago, so it was like considered taboo, the type of relationship. So it was like, okay, I took heat for even being with you, and like, really? You just gonna dump me after 5 days? Not even a week. 5 days of living together. I was dumped. And I was like, well, what for? Like, what's the problem? I was too nice. Like, I'm dead serious. Okay, let's look. Dead serious. That was the answer I was given. I was too nice. So this person thought, oh, Tiffany is too nice, so I can run all over her. She doesn't have a backbone. She won't challenge me. So I need to dump her. And I'm like, did you not figure this out for like the 7 or 8 months that we were together? Like, what? Okay, again. If I was me then, I would have handled the situation completely different. Okay, I never would have gone, first of all. Forget that. I would have learned earlier on, I don't like these red flags. We're not in a stable enough relationship for this. So, no. Bye bye. But I didn't do that. Dumb in love. Okay. So, unfortunately, I ended up in a really crazy situation. I mean, I had family in Virginia, thank goodness. So, I was able to, move in um, with family there that had its own ups and downs. That was also kind of tumultuous in its own way. And then I ended up having to leave there, and I got a job after staying with a couple other people, trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my life. I had 3 jobs, like 2 or 3 jobs there, and I ended up working at an extended stay, and I had to work overnight. So they offered me room and board. So I had my own studio apartment there. Internet paid for. I could, use the laundry facilities there to wash my clothes for free and all that. And I thought, oh my God, this is a godsend. Like, this is like the best thing ever. I didn't have to pay. They just offered me everything for free, which I thought was great, but it really was a horrible, horrible, horrible job. It was a horrible, toxic situation. I was like the only Black person who worked there. And so the other girls would like torment me, like horribly. They would call me in the middle of the night because I worked overnight, and they would like prank call me, or they would have their boyfriends prank call me just to wake me up and pretend that they were guests and make me go to the front office to like assist a guest, but it would be nobody, and they would just, you know what I mean? And I would just be like, oh my God. So the morale just dipped, and I just didn't care anymore. The pay was awful. Okay, I got paid per minute, which means like I only got paid if I was like helping somebody. So if somebody needed like new keys made, then I would clock in to have keys made, right? Which took literally like 70 seconds. Okay. So I would be clocked in for 70 seconds. And then I had to clock back out. So imagine you're getting paid by the number of minutes, even though I would be on call really up to easily 72 hours. I would, let's say, out of, the typical 12 hours, let's say 6 to 6, that I would be on a call for, I may only get paid for maybe 4 or 5 of those 12 hours. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah, it was awful. And so my performance kind of dipped a little bit naturally. And they had the nerve to let me go, telling me I was bringing the company down. Okay. Okay. Didn't care about all the complaints and stuff that I made. Again, the now me would have known exactly what to do to handle that situation. Okay, what to file, who to reach out to. But back then, I was too much of a people pleaser and didn't want to rock the boat and all that type of stuff. That'll be another video on people pleasing and stuff like that. So I ended up just leaving and coming back to Indiana. Now, I made really amazing friends in Virginia. Okay. Shout out to Virginia. I still have family there. Shout out to everybody who's still there. Love you guys. Made some amazing friends. Some of my closest friends are like came during that 2 year period from 2010 to 2012. Okay. And I reconnected with old friends who I hadn't talked to in years. And one of them was one of my best friends. He was a truck driver, so we started talking on the phone again. He found me on Facebook. Like, there were some good things that came out of Virginia, right? But just like law of attraction says, when you know what you don't want, you know what you do want, right? I think Abraham Hicks says that. And so I definitely learned a lot of what I didn't want. So I moved back to Indiana. I had to stay with friends, struggling to find a job, struggling to have a car note that I couldn't really pay, because I didn't have a job anymore. $100 a week in unemployment, from there, like, it was rough. Okay. Until I finally I found my full-time job, like through a staffing agency, making like $11 an hour, which I was like, I'll take it. It was in a call center, and I just tried to start rebuilding my life from there. I had reconnected with my old friend and everything. We started dating, and it was like the first time we had ever fully dated. Like, we tried once before a million years ago, and I was like, nah, this ain't gonna work. After like 3 days, I just knew it. You know what I mean? Like, let's just stay friends. But this time we were older, and I was like, okay, I've known you for like almost 10 years. And so I thought it would naturally be forever. Like, we're going to get married and have kids and all that type of stuff, right? And so we started dating when I moved back, and he was having issues, in his household or whatnot. So I started that job like in March. By May, I had an apartment. Okay. I took a sick day and I'm like, I've got to find an apartment. So I had an apartment and I was getting back on track, and uh, slowly but surely, because the money wasn't that great. And I, just had to recover heavily financially from my move to Virginia. So it was just like a mess. Credit was a mess. Like, everything was a mess. So I was literally starting over. But I at least got my apartment. And then my boyfriend at the time, he moved in. And, he would help pay half the rent. And that was a whole nother thing. Like, that's it. hmm So I'm thinking, dude, we're homies. Like, we like 10 years in. You ain't doing no better than this. So yeah, that'll be another video on like relationships. Okay, yeah. So with that being said, it didn't work out between he and I. We were together for like 9 months. Okay, and we actually started dating in January of 2012, and it was over by like in like September, like Labor Day weekend of 2012. And it shocked me. It was really explosive breakup, and I didn't see that coming. He had been through some things in his life those last 3 years, and it really changed him and took a toll on him. He didn't do any of his inner work or anything like that. And at the time, I didn't really know what it was, but now I think it was depression. So I think he might have been suffering from depression, and I thought that if I could just like love him enough, it'll be better. But again, like attracts like, so I guess we were a match because we were both feeling trapped and stuck and broken in our own way. So I guess that intensified, everything that was already going on between us. So, that energy will get you every time. So I went over to visit one of my friends right before he and I broke up when I came back to Indiana. And I hadn't seen her in some years since I had left. Like, I met her when I graduated college and had my first job with the government, and back in like 2007, and we've been friends ever since. So I stopped in to see her. Her life was flourishing, okay? Like, she had a few hiccups or whatever, but everything was unfolding beautifully. It's like she didn't have a job, but she had income constantly flowing. She didn't have like the basic standard of the American life. It's like it didn't even apply to her. Like, she was just pulling stuff out of thin air, making stuff happen. Stuff was getting paid. Like, checks was coming in the mail from random sources that she didn't even know. And she looked good. She was glowing. She was feeling good. And I was like, she had new love in her life. And I'm like, girl, what is going on? And here I am coming in looking all humdrum and drab and just the poster child for struggle and just depression and anxiety, okay? And she told me I started using law of attraction. And I was like, what is that? And she said, I discovered Abraham and Jerry Hicks. And she started telling me about Abraham Hicks and how, Esther was channeling and the name was Abraham. And I was like, what are you talking about? So she started pulling videos up on YouTube. So she and I would sit and watch the YouTube videos. And it made so much sense, though. And I'm going to tell you, when you're at the bottom, when you feel like you've already hit rock bottom with everything in your life, you kind of get to a point where maybe it's the surrendering part, where you just kind of like, it can't get no worse. It can't get no worse. So, sure, I'll try whatever. It can't get no worse. You know what I'm saying? That's where I was. I was like, you know what? I've already struggled horribly, the last, 2 years. It can't get no worse. What can I lose by trying to receive this law of attraction stuff? You know, that's where my mindset was. And so I was open to the possibility. And sometimes that's all it takes, is just being open to the possibility that something could be true or that something could work. Even if you don't fully believe that it'll work, if you're at least open to the possibility that it could work, you're already on the right track, It's like the whole Martin Luther King quote where you don't have to see the whole staircase, just take the first step. It's that. And I just started receiving it, and I started like listening to it more, and I started telling my boyfriend about it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I've heard about law of attraction," and we started like going to like readers and having like tarot readings and stuff like that done, and um it was hard to make that transition because there was so much momentum of negative stuff going on that sometimes it will be hard to see the whole positive flow of things. And every now and then there would be a manifestation and I'm like, oh, this is cool. Oh, I got a 24-cent raise or whatever. But he and I together, it was just not working. Like, the vibration was low all the time because I was so consumed with him and why he was always feeling so bad that I didn't even pay attention to the fact that I was feeling just as bad as he was because he was feeling bad. And I felt like it was my responsibility to make him not feel bad ever. And that just drained me emotionally. So there was no room to try to manifest anything. So afterwards, when he and I broke up, I tried to kind of cleanse the house, cleanse my apartment and everything, and just try to start living life without him. And not even as friends. Like, we weren't even friends. Like, we didn't speak for 4 years after we broke up. And he just reached out to me out the blue 4 years later to apologize. And I think I saw him one time. And then that was it. And now he's in a whole nother situation. But that isn't a really great situation. But I still pray for him and whatnot, and keep him in my meditations and stuff like that. So, that being said, when he left, I really had time to reflect because I was alone. And I didn't have a lot of boyfriends either. But so I was alone a lot, but I hadn't been alone in 9 months. I was 29 when he and I broke up. And it really gave me perspective. And it really jump started me wanting to learn more about this law of attraction thing, and about this energy thing, and about my own self awareness. So I told myself, I'm gonna give myself like 6 months to a year. I'm not gonna entertain nobody. I'm not gonna talk to nobody. There will be no hanky panky. Like, there will be nothing with anybody. It's just gonna be me sitting with me and trying to figure out, this is a pattern here. Like, none of my relationships have worked out. Okay. What is going on here? There is a pattern. I need to figure out what this pattern is. Because if law of attraction is true, then I am vibrating at a level that only attracts people who are broken and downtrodden, like I am. And I don't want somebody like me. I want somebody elevated. So I can't attract anyone who's elevated if I'm not elevated. I need to fix this. I need to dive deep and figure out what these issues are, address these issues, and start working towards shifting my subconscious mind. I had to literally have a real sit down dialogue, like talking to the air. You would have thought I was crazy. Sitting on the couch, just talking out loud, like, Tiffany, there's a pattern here. You keep falling into this same cycle. You need to figure this out. Okay? You got to figure it out. And that's when it started for me. That was when my journey started. When I was 29 years old, that is when, like in 2012, that's when the journey started, the journey of self. That was my time when law of attraction was like, okay, I really need to figure out how I can infuse law of attraction with this cycle that I'm in, this perpetual cycle of being in these unrewarding, unfulfilling relationships. And I'm like, it starts with the self. It starts with me. It's me. It's me. I'm attracting this, which means it's me. So I need to figure out how to shift whatever's going on, okay, so that I'm attracting what I do desire. And there was a time when I was at work, I hadn't gotten paid yet, and I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't have enough money to get to work tomorrow. And it was like Thursday or like Wednesday, and I got paid that Friday. I'm like, I have to get one more day, and I don't have any money. I'm gonna be like, not even $1. I can't overdraft my account, like nothing. And I was just sitting there like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? And then I just said to myself, you know what? Whatever. If I can't make it to work, I'll just call in and say, look, I don't have any gas to get to work today. I'll just make it there Friday when my direct deposit hits. And that was just a decision I made. Like, I'm just going to call into work because I'm not going to worry about how, I'm not going to borrow no money from nobody. No, I'm just going to say I'm not going to be able to come to work tomorrow. And if my supervisor asks, I'll say it's because I don't have no gas. I wasn't even going to lie. I'm like, I don't have any gas to get there. I had decided that that's what I was going to do. So I get in the house, and then I remember, oh, I didn't check my mail. So I go outside and across the street to check the mail. And I have some bills and then some other letter from the school. I worked for IPS schools temporarily back in like 2010 and 2009 and 2010. And I was like a teacher's assistant and I was a tutor. And they would always send me these letters about retirement. And I'm like, well, that's for teachers. I'm a teacher's assistant. That doesn't apply to me. So I would just always throw them away. And then they would keep sending them and I would keep throwing them away. Well, this particular day, I received one of those letters again. And usually I don't even open them. I just immediately tear them up and throw them away. And I looked at it and I'm like, they still ask me, bothering me about this teacher retirement fund. I'm like, I'm not a teacher. So I open it. Something just said, don't tear it up. Okay. This sounds crazy. We always say that. Well, that little voice said, no, this time it was really a little voice. Okay. It said, open this envelope. Open it. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to open it this time. I open it and it's like 2 pages. And I read the first page and then once again, it's talking about teacher retirement fund. And I'm like, this doesn't apply to me until I get to the second paragraph. And it said, because you did not reply back about your teacher's retirement fund and what you wanted to do and blah, 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 because you didn't return the previous documents that we were sending, we had to cash out your retirement fund. Cash out your retirement fund? I don't have a retirement fund. I'm not a teacher. Nothing was paid into. So I'm like, what are they talking about? So I'm reading and it said, please see the retirement fund check. And I'm like, check? And I pull out the second page and it was a check for like $436. No lie. I actually still have the check somewhere. Like, I still have it. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm like, is this real? Is this a real check? Is this a real check right now? I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And I'm like, well, I don't recall ever agreeing to pay it to any retirement fund because I was never an actual teacher. I was just a teacher's assistant. And I'm like, were they pulling funds, out of my check, putting it towards that anyway? In case I became I don't know. And then I had to stop myself because I was trying to figure it out to make it make sense. And it just didn't make any sense to me. Because usually those were only for teachers. Okay? It was very clear that it is a retirement fund for full-time teachers. I was not a teacher. I was never a teacher. But I got a check for $436. And it blew my mind. I immediately picked up the phone and called my friend. And I was screaming and I was crying. And I told her what happened. And she was like, oh my God. I told you law of attraction works. You done already started tapping into it. You called forth a check. You said you needed gas money and you didn't know how you was going to get it. And you were prepared to just not go to work and lose 8 hours of pay. Okay? Because you didn't have gas money. And you were okay with that. Which means in that moment, I let go of resistance. And the resistance passed. And then I was just like, okay, I'm just not going to go to work. I'll just take a loss. And I stopped thinking about it. In those like 2 minutes that I stopped thinking about it and stopped worrying about it and went and checked my mail, come back and there's a check for $436 in the mailbox at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. You know what I mean? And I'm like, this law of attraction thing may be something. So I'm going to end the video right here because it's already like way too long. It's been like 30 minutes. I will post more because I have so many law of attraction stories, people. Okay. I love law of attraction success stories. I watch them all the time. I watch them every day. I'm so inspired by people and their journeys and just the power of manifestation. I absolutely love it. I will even tell you how I manifest front row seats to concerts on a consistent basis and meeting the celebrities. I kid you not, okay? If it's not front row, your girl don't go, okay? Front row seats. to every concert that I go to every show that I go to in the last year, because I made up my mind that that's what I wanted, and the universe delivers every time. Talk to you guys later.